Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You are watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and as always, I find the best people to share with you. And today, my guest is Heisler Sheinfeld. She is the Executive Director of American Friends of Soroka Medical Center. And I am so thrilled to learn about Soroka Medical Center as I share her with you. Rachel, welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn.
Thank you so much, Jennylyn. I'm so excited and honored to be with you today.
I am excited because I have been hearing about Soroka Hospital and Medical Center, and I don't know much about it. So I thought it would be great if I learned together with my viewers. Do you want to tell us about Soroka Medical Center?
With pleasure, with pleasure. So Soroka is one of Israel's most important and strategic institutions and one of its largest major medical centers. It's the only major medical center for the entire south of the country, and it's a desert region. It's called the Negev, and the Negev represents 60% of Israel's land mass. And David Ben-Gurion, the founding father of the state of Israel, had a vision that the desert would bloom. And the first thing that he did was say, you need to build a hospital in order to make that dream a reality. And that's how Soroka was born in 1959 as a hospital. And it grew and prospered and expanded through there to meet the needs of the community. And the community is outstandingly diverse. It's one of the points of pride that we have is that we take care of everyone there, regardless of politics, race, religion, national origin, and in fact, everyone lives there. It is an area that has 40% Bedouin population and a huge amount of new immigrants, a lot of Sephardic Jewish communities, and a notable amount of refugees, all comprise the 1.2 million people that we take care of. So it's a big responsibility. And it's also a hot medical center that is on, roughly 20 acres. It's huge, and we have many different institutes and hospitals within that. And if you, right over my shoulder, on my background, you can see the main building, and there's also standalone buildings for all the different specialties. And we keep growing. And that's my job as Executive Director of American Friends of Soroka Medical Center, is to help fuel the growth at Soroka.
So tell us about American Friends of Soroka Medical Center.
I am based in a home office in Scarsdale, New York. And we have created here a community of leaders who care deeply about healthcare and deeply about Israel and want to be a part of the story of making the desert bloom. So it's a wonderful group that works tirelessly as storytellers. We create opportunities to tell the story about Soroka, about its growth, its pioneering spirit, its innovation, its profound impact on the community, and its role in taking care of all of these different segments of society that I explained to you, and also in undertaking cutting-edge research. We tell that story nonstop to different types of donors, and no donor is too big or too small to be one of our friends. And we love this opportunity.
So Rachel, as you're speaking, this question comes to mind. Since we have so many hospitals in the United States and so many research centers, so many different medical institutions of learning, how difficult is it for you to raise money for a hospital that's not physically located in the US?
Wow, yeah, it's an issue for us, and particularly an issue because of name recognition that until recently, so when I became executive director, one of our first orders of business was increasing communication so that people would start to learn more about Soroka. A lot of people might be familiar with some of the names of hospitals in the center of the country, but they haven't yet heard of Soroka. So it's a challenge and opportunity for us to tell our story. And I believe, I mean, in my heart of hearts, I believe that people who want to support healthcare will, and they want to support, let's say they're supporting the hospital in their town, in New York, in LA, they also have the ability to, not instead of, but in addition to, help a hospital like Soroka. And part of the magic and the impact for donors of supporting Soroka is that they're really making a difference. In the Negev, we have to make do with less. Just always have to struggle for more resources. We have to struggle for authority from the government to open up more beds. Like right now, our hospital is completely full all the time with our 1,200 beds, and we have a vision to build more beds. So that's just one of our wonderful opportunities, more than a challenge and a roadblock.
So you say it's a research hospital. Do they specialize in one particular field of medicine, or is it general research done there?
So it's a general hospital, but so many centers of excellence, and I'll walk you through a few of them, which I think are super interesting, and then I'll discuss the clinical research aspect to it. Because what above and beyond all is we are dedicated to taking care of our patients and improving the health of our communities. And within that, our centers of excellence include a cancer center, a genetics institute, a neonatal intensive care center. We have a maternity and delivery center where more babies are born than anywhere else in Israel. It's hard to imagine this will help you understand how big our hospital is. 50 babies are born every day, which translates into about 18,000 a year. And that's a huge opportunity to, partner with the families and the moms who are coming in and provide health care, and which spans everything from prevention, diagnosis, treatment, genetics, and so forth. So part of our challenge is the diversity that I explained to you, and that is seen so clearly in our labor and delivery center. And then that translates into the opportunity to counsel some of the families who are from low socioeconomic backgrounds and might not have the same access as in other parts of the country to prenatal information. So we spend a lot of staff time and have undertaken many programs to educate and uplift not just the patients, but also the families. And so just jumping again to research, we are a major research center and utilize several unique aspects. So here we are in the Negev with this diverse population, but we have a unique opportunity because of the Bedouin and the concentration of their tribal community, and the fact that we've been following their health for so many years enabled us to create a database of tissue that helps us with genetic diagnosis, and that is going to help. That is the underpinning of a lot of very novel research that we do. Now, another interesting aspect to our research is the Cancer Center, which opened up in 2019, the Legacy Heritage Oncology Center. It's the home to the Dr. Larry Norton Institute. Dr. Larry Norton is a preeminent oncologist in New York, and he selected Soroka as the place where he wanted his next chapter of research to take place. And why did he pick Soroka? He picked Soroka because he felt that it had the perfect combination of genetics, an outstanding world-class genetics department, and it also has access and partnership with Ben Gurion University, which is right next door, across the road, and they have probably one of the best mathematics and best and most advanced mathematics departments in the world. And also, our clinical research department is home to a biobank, and Soroka also was one of the early adopters of electronic medical records. So we have really, really admirable and useful access to medical records that can then be all data mined. So the name of the game in research for many aspects is utilizing all this data and collaborating with centers around the world to share data, and then applying different models, and then with all these great inputs, Larry Norden and ourselves believe that we'll be able to crack the code to many diseases that have been plaguing our society, including cancer. So that's really a phenomenal opportunity for us. Our clinical research department is very, very active. It's led by Dr. Victor Novak. He also has an appointment at Harvard Medical School and runs a clinical research unit at Harvard. And he, at any given time, has about 100 major studies underway at Soroka, and they run the whole gamut of diseases. So it's really an interesting and important thing. So just a word about genetics. It's a real responsibility that we have in our society of the Negev, is to care for the health of the 40% Bedouin population. And one of the biggest challenges that we have is a genetic challenge, because of the proclivity in that community towards husbands taking on multiple partners, multiple wives. And that can lead to, those consanguineous marriages can then lead to a lot of human tragedy in the face of genetic diseases that were otherwise preventable. Right. So Dr. Ohad Birik, the head of our genetics institute, he himself has uncovered more rare genetic diseases than anywhere else. He undertook the study of Bedouin genes, and here's one major aspect in how Soroka contributed to global health. He took the platform and was the first, and I believe to date only, Jewish individual, certainly Israeli individual, to appear at the famous Doha debate, where he went live on TV from Doha and debated the merits and the ethics of genetic testing. And believe it or not, he won. So this major change in Arab society started to crack open and allow for genetic testing, and that has prevented untold amount of suffering around the world. So we're very, very proud and touched by that.
So
yeah.
Do you know if we have a lot of practicing physicians in the United States that got their education at Soroka?
So actually there's a fair number of them, not a lot, but a few. And that's because we have two medical schools. So one medical school is the Goldman Medical School at Soroka. That's a Hebrew language medical school. And then there's also an English language school that is called the Medical School for International Health, a very unique place that, as part of the education, requires the students to take on international or different kinds of healthcare settings. So that can involve going to third world countries, going to travel the world and find places where they can do, have an experience where they're able to really make a difference in the health of, let's say rural communities or profoundly underserved communities. But that can also find such a setting within Israel in some of the regions that you can imagine in the far corners of the desert where there are still nomadic tribes. So graduates of that program are changed forever. They have a certain human touch. And that's the thing we're proudest of all about the Soroka physician, is someone who has a real human touch and cares deeply about the whole patient. So these unique doctors that are graduated from that program come back, and they're placed. This program is in collaboration with Columbia University, and then they get placed for residencies, and they build their careers around the country. They're mostly from America. So that's cool. I want to mention one notable graduate of Ben Gurion University is now working in industry he's actually in Boston area, and he is the chief medical officer for Moderna, one of the companies that's very heavily involved and far along in creating a vaccine for COVID, which we are all hoping for. Yeah.
Which
So his
we
name
know
is,
we're not going to have for 12 to 18 months.
yeah. So that's, I think you're right. That's a big, big issue around the world. And, if we can jump right into talking about Corona and talking about Israel, our experience really mirrors what you are having in California, which is unfortunately a second wave of coronavirus.
And what do you think is responsible for that? Because you guys were doing a good job of keeping it under control. I actually interviewed someone in Israel who had the coronavirus.
Oh, wow.
And he recovered.
Good. So there have only been 330 deaths so far in Israel, hovering at around 1% of confirmed cases. And we did extremely well in, obviously it took everyone by surprise, but Israel is uniquely prepared for emergencies, right? I mean, we live in a neighborhood where from time to time there are existential threats, as you know. And it's very much on people's mind that you have to be prepared for anything. And we have the infrastructure in Israel to enable the different institutions to work in concert, work under the direction of the government and in collaboration with all to undertake the measures that are necessary, in this case, to crush the curve. So we prepared for the crisis, and we rolled out different things that were necessary, including shutting down the country, shutting down incoming air traffic. They repatriated many of their citizens from around the world and just hunkered down tight. They also, at the same time, implemented testing, because that is a great, that's the core of the program here. It's testing and it's tracing. And tracing is really unique in Israel. And we took a page from our anti-terrorism activities. And the Shin Bet, Israel's secret police, was able to implement a program where they could track people who have been exposed to a person who is a known COVID case. So they're tracking this all on your cell phones. And if all of a sudden Rachel was out to lunch and at the end of the day, they found out that someone who was in close proximity to me was diagnosed with COVID, then they will contact me and put me in quarantine. And the quarantines were actually enforced super well and in a super interesting way. They used something called a Corona hotel. So a lot of really effective ways in Israel and unique ways to work on it. In Israel, it's a small country. It's 8.8 million citizens, and each human life is so precious. It matters so much that we have to do everything possible to prevent disease. And in this case, COVID was just, another existential threat and emergency that we're able to, tamp down. Now, what happened after that is maybe we opened up certainly we opened up too soon. Now, it was data driven, and the cases by the first week in May, the cases were like practically non-existent, and it looked like things were going to be very stable. So Israel began to open up. They opened up schools. The kids couldn't wait to get back to school for the final week of classes. So they did that. And then there was this whole outpouring of weddings and gatherings and the beach and partying. Israelis in Tel Aviv, being on the beach just was a lure. And people, just like in California, they were tired of being, cooped up, and we're paying the price now. And hoping that aggressive measures right now, taken early and definitively with the evidence and telling people, look, if we know that this is what you need to do to crush the curve again, and we're just going to hunker down and do it again. So Soroka, in the meantime, learned a lot during the first wave, and we're ready for the second wave. So would you like me to share with you a little bit about how we prepared for the first wave and how we operated at Soroka?
Sure. So yes, why don't you tell us?
Okay. Well, we, like I said earlier, we are prepared for any emergency. So we knew that the name of the game was going to be protecting the patients that are coming in, protecting the staff, and protecting the patients who are already in the hospital from cross-contamination. So we repurposed a standalone hospital that could have access directly, and bringing the ambulances and patients directly to the door without any risk to the rest of the hospital campus.
Yeah.
And created an environment within the hospital that would be very safe for the patients. So very separate, very, telemedicine, using all the best elements of telemedicine from the moment you were there. There's no human contact without the full PPE and the, protectors, and testing is done through like openings in walls. But again, maintaining the human touch, because that's one of the things that Soroka is known for, is the human touch. So we find a way to put the humanity into it by having screens available and sharing as much as we can with the patient, but it's really done, as remotely as possible. So that within record time of 2 weeks, we were able to open up this standalone unit with 54 beds. Amazing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then when it wasn't enough, we were afraid as things were mounting, we then said, okay, we're full. We don't want to, have that situation where you can't handle the next patient coming in and there's overcrowding. So we actually found a floor in the new cancer center and reserved that for, less critical care of the patients so that they could be isolated, and also receive the intensive care nursing that they need around the clock. So we're really prepared right now for anything and hoping for the best.
Rachel, what do you find the most challenging? How long have you been doing your job here in the United States?
So I've been doing my job for about 8 or 9 years, and I see it more as an opportunity. I love having the opportunity to encounter someone and share with them the stories of Soroka, because it's all about the stories. It's all about the patient in the NICU whose lives we've saved, the cancer center that we're building, the rare genetic diseases that we're curing, and finding a match between the philanthropist, and everyone is a philanthropist, Jennylyn, everyone, no matter how much you're giving. If you want to give, you're a philanthropist, and we honor everyone's gift tremendously, and we value it. So that's the challenge, is really finding the match and learning, taking the time to learn how people want to help and what they want to know about, and then sharing that information with them. And then the rest happens, magic happens in that sense. So that's the hardest part, and particularly now in the COVID reality, is going to be the contact and being introduced to new friends and having the meetings with them and so forth, and creating an environment where people learn about Soroka. So one of the big ways that people have traditionally learned about Soroka is our annual gala. And every year we pick a project that we undertake to raise money for at the gala, and we celebrate the successes that we've had throughout the year with that. And then we also, raise money at that event through, all different means, and with a lot of different support of different people to make it happen, and to build like a new wing or a new department or open up a new dedication. last year, we had the honor of focusing on clinical research, and one of our honorees actually came from your neck of the woods, and we had the chance to honor Ed Oates, one of the co-founders of Oracle, and there was tremendous synergy there because here is a guy who devoted his life to technology and innovation being honored by a hospital that bootstrapped its way up through innovation and harnessing technology. And, Ed being, someone who was a pioneer in databases could really relate to what Soroka was building at our clinical research center, where we operate a biobank. And that biobank gives you all this biodata and all this electronic medical, we couple that with the electronic medical records that we have, and it gives you really, really fertile territory for clinical research. So he was really excited to for that match, and it was a night to remember. So
sounds like fun. I know that you do your gala to raise funds, but this year clearly you're not going to be able to raise funds that way. So how do you handle, I'm sure you get this often, when you try to raise funds, that you find it challenging because your institution or the hospital is not physically in the United States. How do you get around that?
Well, so we did the big pivot, and now we're doing everything online and virtually. So the hospital is not in the United States, and so we have to bring it to people and show them. And we do that with videos and storytelling in person about the nature of the patients and the relationships and so forth. And we are really excited about the way that we've been connecting with people throughout the pandemic virtually. One of the things that we did early on is create an Ask the Expert session. And it's an hour-long interview similar to this format, where we bring an expert from Israel, from Soroka Medical Center, and we pair them with someone in our medical and scientific advisory world here in Soroka's, US realm, and we put them side by side and moderate a conversation. So we started out those conversations in discussion about COVID itself, how to prevent it, how to understand it, what to do to stay safe. And then it expanded from there to looking at upcoming treatments and what treatments are working and not working. We also looked at mental health and explored that extensively, because there's a lot of stress being put on individuals in any country, in any setting. Our worlds are turned upside down. It's very uncertain times, and we thought it was important to share with our followers the best practices in how to deal with the stress, how to prevent the stress from encroaching on your relationships. We did a mindfulness session. We also tackled nutrition during pandemic and sleep. So a lot of really important topics, and we're continuing. Yesterday, we had a session that really didn't relate, so it's a little bit of a change for us. It didn't really relate to COVID, but it was an autism webinar. So it's a way to share our expertise with the world, and Soroka happens to be home to the Israeli National Autism Center. Israel just selected Soroka and Ben Gurion together to be the home of this institute. And we had an amazing academic session yesterday that was subscribed by hundreds of people. And so that's what it's all about. It's about finding ways to tell the story virtually. So part of what we're doing is retooling our gala. So instead of having a live gala like we had planned, and this year we're honoring this, it was supposed to have been in June, and we would have been honoring the artist Mark Bennett from Aspen, who is the creator of a work of art that we will be installing in the healing garden of the Comprehensive Cancer Center. It's called The History of the Star of David at Soroka. And it's 18 panels in vivid coloration that are photographs of iconic images of the Magen David, or the Star of David, that tell the story of Jewish peoplehood and civilization throughout the years and over time, through the highs and lows of the experience of the the population, and it's incredibly moving. And we believe in providing healing art opportunities to our patients. So our patients in the Comprehensive Cancer Center can look out and enjoy this and meditate with this art, and as well as the staff have that available to them. And we've had some other projects that we've implemented for the healing arts. We have an artist, a Brazilian artist, who created a flower garden to help make the desert bloom. Like I told you, was the dream of Ben Gurion. So in the desert, it's a little challenging. So this artist designed unique ceramic flowers that are placed in the desert, and donors can underrate clusters of flowers and literally add color and permanent blooms to our campus, which is a beautiful thing. And so, giving you a sense of the scale, this artwork is going to be seen by millions of people a year. The hospital treats the 1.2 million residents of the Negev, but it's so busy and there's so much going on there with outpatient activity and so forth, and that 6.5 million people a year go through the gates of the hospital. So, you know, when I tell you that we appreciate all the support we can get, we need all the support we can get because of that volume of activity. And it's a fascinating and amazing place.
So we're almost out of time, but before we wrap this interview up, what would be the reason, if I were someone with some money that I could invest in a hospital, what would you tell me is the reason that Soroka would be a good place for me to put my money if I live here in the United States? What would be the one reason that I should invest in Soroka? I'm asking this for anybody watching this interview because I want to help you, Rachel.
Thank you. Wow, that's incredible. Well, I will tell you that Soroka is very, very fortunate to be in the Negev community, which is as vibrant as it is right now. We are home to a major technology hub, which is the Gavyam High Tech Park. We're across the street from Ben Gurion University Medical Center, Ben Gurion University, which is home to the 2 medical schools that we have. We're also in an area that is home to Israeli bases, and that helps to create a very young environment, as all these young families, which are staffing the bases and the intelligence centers of the government, are increasingly moving down to the south. So that confluence of brain power and youth and innovation has created an environment where at Soroka anything is possible. We are so devoted to clinical research, utilizing all these innovative methods, that truly great things are happening and will be happening. So a donor can have the understanding that all the best practices of modern technology and science and so forth and methodologies are present at Soroka. And the mindset is help save a life in Israel at Soroka, but leverage it with things that are going to be useful to everyone. And with our focus on cancer, our focus on neurology, we're also going to be honoring a world expert in neurology who discovered the gene for Huntington disease. So he's a neurologist and also a geneticist, Michael Hayden from the west coast of Canada. So what attracts people like that to Soroka and why they want to help is because they know through personal experience that Soroka is the place where the research can get done, where the money that builds new wards do make a difference, and anyone would be super proud to have a naming available, undertaken for them at the institution. It's a very powerful place, and you can for certain match someone's goals if they want to commemorate a loved one, if there's a certain disease that they want to join the fight against, that good results will take place there. So I hope that inspires you a little, Jennylyn.
Thank you. I thought I would ask that so anyone watching this interview would know that, would know why this would be a good place to invest. And believe it or not, we have run out of time. And I
Oh,
always
wow.
ask this question before we go. What haven't I asked you that you want to leave with the viewers, although we're out of time, and then we will wrap this.
So very, very quickly, I would say, if you have questions, I want you to call me. I would love a friendly phone call. I'm lonely here in the time of COVID, and I'd love to answer questions from anyone in the audience. You can reach me at 914-725-9070. And I invite you to look at our website, soroka.org, and find ways and projects that are open there that you might want to learn about. And save the date for our Desert Chic virtual online gala. But if you sign up on our website, you'll be given notice about upcoming Ask the Expert sessions, and which is what I call news you can use. It's really, cutting edge information. And our next one will actually be in 2 weeks from today, and it's going to cover something that's not so pleasant to think about. Winter is coming. How to prepare for the upcoming winter season that's going to have the confluence of corona and the flu. So it's all about prevention and protection and the caring heart that
Thank
Soroka
you
brings you.
so
And
much,
I've conveyed
Rachel.
that to you today.
I thank you so much. And my battery is running out on the computer. That's my
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired. And I will see you next time.